Don't touch my.
To part 2 of this episode of Whoscussion. So we're picking up now with the 8th Doctor story of Neverland. It is the final story for this season of the 8th Doctor with Big Finish. And it is a bit of a doozy. I'll get Harriet Skelly to start us off with this part.
Well, this one is quite an interesting one. It's the start of of something pretty crazy, as I've been told. So we end up with in the beginning of this audio book, we are listening to some voices, which I imagine is the Matrix, the voices of the Matrix, of Gallifrey, of course. Reciting some little tidbits of history.
Oh, they're probability thingamabobs. They're organic.
Yeah. I mean,
Van Sal's a douche and he uses them.
Yes, he uses the whole matrix of organic and Time Lord history to keep a record of all time. But we find that out later. But it's kind of an interesting part to start with, considering you're not really watching anything, you're hearing this, and you're sort of like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Oh, dude, but they talk about our best friend.
Yes. Oh yes, Maverick
Chen, Guardian of the Solar System.
Oh, so good.
Oh my god, when I heard him, oh man, I came running over to you and was just like, dude, I can't wait for you to listen to Neverland because it's so great, man. And what's cool is they introduced canon, a piece of canon is the female delegate of Earth from the Curse of Peladon is the person who was the guardian of the solar system before Maverick Chen.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Maverick Chen succeeds Amazonian.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, in whatever year they said it was. In
whatever
year it is.
And then they could not remember anything, and they started screaming at me, and I'm like, "Please, volume, calm down." Yeah, that was fun. So yeah, if you watch this one, make sure you keep the volume down when you're watching the beginning, and then you can turn it up after the credits. That's how you do it.
Yeah, actually do that, because the same thing happened to me, and I've got like a really high quality headset for audio, and I was just like, turn it down, please.
Yeah. So then the Doctor basically gets surrounded by Time Lords, as you do, because he's been causing some havoc recently. Namely, he's wondering about the fact that he just stuck the Daleks in a time loop, which is quite funny. And then the whole time intervention, celestial intervention
agency,
the CIA, decides to come down on him, basically. But in a fantastic display of just being the Doctor. Yeah, rides on a time torpedo out of their range. And it's like, come on, Doctor, you've got to be able to be defeated by somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Hey,
you can't just run away from the people who are supposed to be the best at following people through time. Come on. Anyway, then the best labeled switch in the entire universe, the fast return switch.
The fast return switch
gets utilized once again after Charlie Pollard has a realization of her impending life and doom. And existence.
The Doctor was going to give her a way out too, and she chose not to take it.
Yep.
That's so brave, man.
Well, I also like the fact that at this point she starts referencing the fact that the Doctor is very much, for her anyway, the Doctor is very much like Peter Pan for saving her from, well, essentially from losing her life and being old and stuff.
Yeah.
And is going to take her on a wondrous ride through Neverland. But that is not really what this story is named after. This story is more named after the land that never was.
Yes.
Because we find that throughout this adventure that Doctor's been having with Charlie, they have been spreading a sort of disease through time.
Anti-time.
The idea of anti-time.
Mm.
As a virus. Basically, they've been cracking the universe and time to the other universe, which is an anti-time universe of anti-time. I'm not sure how that differs from the antimatter universe.
I'll tell you how it differs, because it doesn't have an angry man in a mask yelling at everybody.
I don't know. Zagreus does start wearing other people's faces and yelling at people.
This is true. This is true.
But anyway, we end up. It turns out that Charlie is basically the seed of this, but for whatever reason, and they basically use her as a gateway to this this anti-time universe, and they find there the nobodies. Wait, no, sorry, the Never people.
The Never people.
Not the nobodies.
Not the nobodies. We're not fighting Kingdom Hearts here.
Anyway, they are basically people that never existed, or people that the Celestial Interventions Agency had been removing from time.
Bro, that's so messed up, man. Yep. And it was that they were doing it in such a way that not even Time Lords could remember them.
Yep, that they were just.
And that's crazy, because like the Doctor remembered Rory being deleted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, that's next level.
They were properly deleting them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's just it. Is that normally a deletion from time would just remove them from time. From people within that time. So if you accidentally deleted your best friend from time, you would remember them from your entire period of time. But if you were a time traveler and you deleted them, you normally would remember them still, because your biochemistry had basically been changed to allow for the fluctuations in time.
Yeah,
like most Time Lords. But I'm guessing they have a way of deleting people from time that circumvents that. I mean, they're the Time Lords, of course they would.
Yeah, because that means it's more powerful than the Transmat gun, which the Fourth Doctor used to delete the Sontarans from time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, whoa! That means the Sontarans don't remember invading Gallifrey. That's amazing. That's so amazing.
The Doctor, he's the best. Anyway, I really do like that whole idea, that the fact that the Celestial Agency had been basically enacting their own punishment on people.
Yeah, outside of the government.
Yeah, is the reason why they're in such a horrible place. And the fact that if they had made the mistake of deleting the Doctor, which they probably wanted to many times, they would be absolutely wrecked now.
Yeah,
because if the Doctor had been one of the Never people.
Yeah, he would have wrecked their shits.
This would have happened a lot sooner, and it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. Well and truly, the Doctor would not have held back with this one. I love that we see Charlie just always being headstrong and like not a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
She's not a Mary. Charlie is like, she's from the past, but she is very much in control of the situation as much as the Doctor ever is, and probably more than the Doctor ever is, to be honest.
Yeah,
and she is a great companion, and the fact that she likes willing to give herself up because she knows that she should be dead anyway, and she just accepted that. Like, dude, to be honest, if somebody told me that like I'm supposed to not be alive and I'm alive, I don't know how I'd handle that.
I'd be stubborn as hell and be like, well, I'm going to stay alive.
Yeah.
Go away.
I'm not going to die. And then it's like Charlie's just like, look, I'm not even meant to be alive anyway. I've got to travel all over the universe and time. Dude, I'm going to handle this like a champ and go and do it. And the Doctor's like, yo, man, what the hell? So she fast returns, ends up getting caught by the Time Lords. Romana's there, and Romana's the only person that's on the Doctor's side.
Yeah.
And it's
Which
so cool, man.
That's generally how I imagine the interaction of the Doctor and the Time Lords go after Romana becomes president. The other one's still really not liking him too much, and Romana's the only one who really gives a crap.
Yeah. Romana's just like, Doc, I'm here for you. Now, we've got Van Cell here. Now, what's interesting is Van Cell is quite prevalent in the Big Finish range. He interferes with the 5th, 6th, and 7th Doctors, and I think in the next 4th Doctor box set, he's going to be messing with him as well. He's just an all-around douche nozzle that used to go, who actually used to hang out with the Doctor when they were younger, and the Doctor used to call him Nosebung. I'm guessing that's why he hates the Doctor, because the Doctor's a dick. And I'm just like, I could so see the first Doctor doing that. Like, I could see William Hartnell doing that, like just dissing the guy, like who's meant to be his mate. I'm just like, that's legendary, man. This guy's the man. And Van Cel's also very, 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 very important in the first couple of seasons of the Gallifrey box sets. And so it's interesting to have him here. The fact that he is really, really interested in anti-time. And is all like, hey, look, I'm gonna stop anti-time from coming to our universe at all costs. The Time Lords see that Charlie is a way to bring back Rassilon, which is interesting.
Well, that's the real kicker for this story, really. Is that when they get to Neverland, they find something that really shouldn't be there is a stable, succinct thing existing in a time in a universe that is supposed a universe that's supposed to be inconsistent and random and just basically everything going on at once as nebula are being created and destroyed and following each other. Stars are being multiple stars are consuming each other at once, but there is just a planet there, just normal old planet, just seems to be there. And they crash land on it. They meet the Never people. They eat a person. They eat a Time Lord. That's pretty funny.
What's interesting is the last breach when when the Doctor created another instance of anti-time by having Sebastian Grail kill himself. And create an alternate universe where he never existed. The anti-time creature came back to the non-existing timeline and ate 2 of the people from it. What the hell? Anti-time is crazy. And I love how, like, as you said before, the anti-time is basically sustained by the people the CIA keep feeding to it.
Yeah, that they are the reason that it exists. Is because they are putting conscious minds into they are effectively removing conscious minds from time. And I mean, if anything is to be said by that, Time Lords are kind of connected to time in a weird sort of way. So I imagine the things that they were deleting were Time Lords, not just people. So
that's what the machine's for, is to delete Time Lords.
So trying to delete something that is effectively a space-time paradox, something like the Doctor, would leave imprints on time itself. So that's probably what the whole thing is that of anti-time. It's not really anti-time. It is just time that had been removed from time. So it's pieces of
lost time.
Lost time, and that would explain why as well that it's not just actually chaos when they get there, where it's not just space and time is just colliding on itself all the time. It's actually things are happening, but they're not happening in the same way that we expect. So things are happening at the same time because there's really that's sort of how that weird paradox that the 11th Doctor and Amy and Rory and River get in, where everything is happening at the same time, sort of deal. Except, not as bullcrap.
Not as Stephen Moffat-fied.
Not as Stephen Moffat-fied. In a much different way. It's still, it's still as much as a scientist would put it, not really probably true. But I like the idea behind it.
Well, the thing about Doctor Who is it is meant to be a fantasy. It's not a hard sci-fi.
Yeah. So I didn't say I didn't like it. I'm definitely a fan of the whole idea. I'm just amused by the fact that that they're calling it anti-time.
Yeah,
and I mean, like, the funniest thing is that if it's to be believed that time is a substance that can be controlled and moved and moved through, then in theory there probably would be something that would be an anti-time. But it would probably
it's like Romana explains. She goes, "If matter has antimatter, then therefore time must have anti-time."
Yeah. But I would imagine that the thing that anti-time would exist with antimatter, that they would be part of the same universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
That the anti-universe would be where Omega resides,
Well,
with antimatter and anti-time.
I what I love though is that like Omega has antimatter. He's the reason it exists.
Yeah.
And the reason anti-time exists is Rassilon.
Yep.
And I'm just like, you boys, you two.
What did the other create? Like,
yeah. What did the other create? Eh? He's all like, I get reincarnated as the Doctor. That's a thing. Omega's like, does that mean I get reincarnated? No, it doesn't, Omega.
I suppose I suppose that's really it, isn't it? Is that the Rassilon and Omega create these great things going on in the universe, but the other is what basically brings the Doctor into existence.
Yeah.
The Doctor's the one that sort of fucks with everybody's day.
He's like, well, the other two got to be real famous. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make sure that my biodata from the Matrix gets put into a new baby. Yeah, I'm awesome. I'm the other. I sure hope he's not gonna be a giant douche nozzle. Ooh, he's 13 douche nozzles.
Wait, is that 14?
What have I become? But yeah, and what's interesting is like Van Sal's so surprised that something can exist in the anti-time universe, and then you find out that it's not just a TARDIS that's got that where all the bigger on the inside's leaking out, just like what happens with 11, which is awesome. Yep. I love that gets referenced again on the television.
Yeah.
Something that Big Finish introduces. There's, as much as we crap on Stephen Moffat, he does do a lot of stuff that draws back into the Big Finish canon. I really like that. And so the bigger on the inside is leaking out, and it's turning into a planet, which is amazing. I love how the TARDIS is just turning into a planet, and Van Sal's like, whoa, what the hell? And the Doctor's like, what is this place? And Charlie's like, guys,
it's a TARDIS.
It's a TARDIS. And the Doctor's like, and I love how like it was the human that figured it out. Like all these Time Lords are standing on a TARDIS, and not a single one of them realized it's a TARDIS.
Well, this is just it. Is that like they deal with that stuff all the time? It's not really a big deal for Charlie.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, hold on a minute, it's bigger on the inside.
And I love how they're like, well, whose TARDIS is it? And then the anti-time creatures are like, I think it's Rassilon's.
It's probably Rassilon's.
We just went to the Zero Room, and Rassilon's asleep in there. It's Rassilon's TARDIS.
That's really amusing, especially that whole thing was like, but Rassilon is like dead though.
Yeah, I love how the Doctor's like, he's dead, and then it's like, and anti-time's like, well, somehow he came to life again, regenerated into a black guy, went back in time and created the Zagreus myth, and then came and fought us. And Romana's like, seems legit. And Van Sol just buys it too, and he's all like, oh, okay. And then Anti-Time, they never quite explain that part, but Anti-Time somehow hypnotizes Van Sol into taking the time station back to Gallifrey. And I love how Romana's just like, we're kind of stuck here, Doc. And the Doc's like, don't worry, I'm going to figure our way out. But she's like, will you? And he's like, I really, really, really hope I do. And what's ruthless about this story is the Time Lords are just willy-nilly using Charlie Pollard as an anti-time to pure time converter.
Yeah.
She's like Ultra 3GP converter, but like on a way bigger scale. A universal scale. And
that she's capable of converting matter. She's capable of converting time from its anti-state to its positive state. That is quite a feat.
Yeah, and man, it's like it doesn't kill her, and she feels unbelievable amounts of pain. What's amazing, and I love this about the fact that they have to use sound as their only because it's their only medium. Is when Charlie starts to do the conversions, he starts screaming really loud, and then if you turn up your volume after the scream finishes, while everybody's talking, you can actually hear that she's still screaming in the background. And it's like really, really subtle, and it's amazing because like basically her scream is being stretched across time. I'm just like, that's beautiful. I love that about Big Finish, that like because they've got such a limited medium, they do as much as they can to keep you invested in the story. And just like hearing what they're doing to Charlie, that's messed up, man. I couldn't believe what they were doing to Charlie. But at the same time, it's like I told you the other day. Is just like I love the Time Lords, but I think they're pieces of shit because
could be dicks really bad.
Yeah, because they are, man. And like the thing is, they're like these wonderful beings that are assholes.
Well, that's just it, really. That's really the thing about it, really, is that the real reason why he wants Rassilon back. What's his face?
Van Sale.
Van Sale wants Rassilon back so much is because he realizes. Even though he's a dick, he realizes that the Time Lords are just stuck. Really, they're they're just sitting there at their throne on the world, not really doing anything. And that's basically what the Time Lords have been doing for the longest time, right up until they end up in a war with the Daleks. Basically, is that they have just been trying to manage everything and not letting things break. Basically, they have been sitting there as sort of like the clockwork robots from
the Girl in the Fireplace.
From the Girl in the Fireplace.
They
are just keeping things together, and they've basically just been waiting around until Rassilon comes back. That's basically what they've been trying to do, and he was the one who wants Rassilon back that much.
That he even broke the law, man.
Yeah.
He broke the law that he's meant to be upholding to keep bringing Rassilon back by constantly sending people turning them into anti-time so they can get a big enough portal. So essentially, Van Sel really wanted Charlie Pollard to be alive. He's all like, man, I'm real glad the Doctor did that because I was wondering how to make this portal, and then he did it for me.
But then, like, the thing is that even as he was being a dick, he was making it so that the Time Lords were finally moving forward, finally doing something with their time, instead of just sitting there,
being Time Lords,
being dicks.
Yeah, that's so true, eh?
Because I mean, if there's any real definition of being a dick, it is not letting someone change things. For the better.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, what happens after the story, and I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't listened to it. Romana does make some changes.
Yes.
And I think Van Sal's definitely the catalyst for that. Because in this story, Van Sal, spoiler alert, ends up getting his ass handed to him and being converted into whatever the hell they convert them into. And then the Doctor, after getting Romana back into the real universe, he is confronted by the anti-time entities, and they want they basically going to start converting all of reality into anti-time. And then Charlie's like, if I kill myself, it's not possible. And the Doctor's like, I'm not going to kill you. And Charlie's actually super surprised by this. Which is interesting. She was like, actually believe the Doctor would do it. I was like, Charlie, you guys have been traveling together for ages. There's no way he's just going to pop a cap in your head.
No, he's not going to do that.
And she sounds pretty pissed off, to be honest, that he doesn't do it. That he doesn't have the, I suppose, for lack of a better term, he doesn't have the balls to do it. And he's like, I'm not going to kill you, Charlie. I couldn't do that. And then the anti-time monster laughs at him when Charlie gets converted. And he's just like, laugh at me all you want, man, but there's no way in hell I'd kill my best friend. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to end your shit. And then he runs into his TARDIS, and the anti-time monster's like, hey, how the hell is he going to... Oh, my God! turns his TARDIS into, like, a super bomb that's going to, like, completely dissipate anti-time. And then time completely freezes, except for the Doctor. And he's like, what?
Hang on.
And then Rassilon turns up and is like, I'm black now, and I'm cool.
I'm black. fuck, man?
And there's a guy who wears my face who looks exactly like me, and he gets killed by some Cybermen, but he's from a different universe, so that's okay. And
Also, I'm James Bond.
I can't wait to regenerate into James Bond. I really hope we don't have a war, though. That would suck. And so he turns up and he's all like, "Hey, Doctor, hey, how's it going?" And then they have like a really, really friendly conversation. And I'm like, this is way different to the one you guys had in the Five Doctors. But in saying that, the first Doctor actually was on real friendly terms with Rassilon as well in the Five Doctors. Everybody else is pooing their undies, and the first Doctor's like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" And so,
well, I imagine that the Doctor, and considering Rassilon at really the core of him, is not really such a bad dude.
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it, I mean, he's the reason why Time Lords exist in the first place. And if anything, he's probably the one. If Rassilon ever really came back, rather than the ways that he's come back recently, if the old Rassilon had come back and not had a war fought around him and become this sort of warlike, really hating everybody sort of dude, I imagine Rassilon probably would have been like, "Doctor, you and me are like, we're buds.
Yeah.
Like, I'm totally on board with everything that you do. Like, go out and just fight people. Do it."
And I just love how like Rassilon's like, I kind of was really keen on this whole like anti-time thing, but I'm not going to stop you from getting rid of it. It's really your choice. I'm going to leave this up to you. Look, looks like you're going to save Charlie, so that's cool. But just a heads up, shit might go really weird. And the Doctor's like, nah, I'm okay with that. And he's like, okay, cool, peace, whatever. Goes off, saves Charlie. And then I love this ending. It is, I love this ending. Charlie's alive. She's no longer anti-time.
Yep.
And Romana's like, hey, what the hell? And because Romana has put herself in the Matrix because Romana's awesome. And she's listening to the Matrix. And then Rassilon turns up and is like, hey, what's up? I'm going to save you from the Matrix. And Romana's like, really? He's like, yeah, you seem like a pretty cool president. So I'm going to reinstate you. I'm going to take you back home. Oh, she's like, oh, thanks, man. And he's like, oh, hey, also, I've rewritten the Matrix so that Charlie isn't a problem anymore. I just fixed it. And she's like, isn't that a paradox? He's like, yeah, I really don't actually care.
Like you know who I am, right?
It's like, dude, I'm the king of paradoxes. And so that all ends. It's all happy-go-lucky.
I created time.
Yeah, I literally I love that as well. Oh, you just reminded me at the beginning where Vansel and Romana are talking, and Rassilon actually invented the continuity of the universe.
Yeah, that he was the reason why there's a string of events that lead from the beginning to the end of time. Which really, well, I mean that's basically it, really, isn't it? Is that
Rassilon's God?
Yeah, that will not to that extent, but I mean, if
he's the reason we evolved from apes, bro.
Well, he's the reason he's the reason that time allowed that to happen. He's the reason causality exists at all. But I mean, that's really it. Is that So what was going on before that, really? What happened? What was going on before...
Well, the Doctor says it was the Dark Times.
Yeah, but I mean, what was going on before causality existed?
Yeah, I know way.
If nothing progressed from cause to effect, what was going on?
Before Rassilon.
Yeah.
I love how, like, Omega actually did it, but then Rassilon took literally all the credit and then rewrote time, and it was just like, this is how time exists now. I'm Rassilon. I love myself. And so,
I also have another universe, and I've called it anti-time. Hey, that's my line. I've got antimatter. No, it's anti-time.
It's anti-time. Go away, Omega. You're not my friend anymore. I threw you into a black hole, remember? Dick. But bringing this Whoscussion episode to a close, the final part, right at the end, Charlie's alive, and she says, Doctor, you did it. She's so happy. And then she goes to touch him, and he says, don't touch me. And Charlie's like, whoa, what the hell? You're freaking me out, bro. And he's just like, I'm not the Doctor. I am the greatest! Which was a really, really scary nursery rhyme character that was told on Gallifrey. So the Doctor is the origins of a tale that would talk about Rassilon creating the anti-time universe and then creating the Eighth Doctor as the greatest persona. So
yes.
that is the craziest paradox in the entirety of Doctor Who. That is just what the holy crap. That Rassilon regenerates after leaving the Dark Tower, goes back to the beginning of everything, creates anti-time, just to create the Doctor who becomes the Greyest, so that the past can remember a myth where this would happen.
Yep.
Holy actual crap. How is any of that possible? Doctor Who. That's how it's possible.
Rassilon, the creator of time.
Exactly, Rassilon, eh? I am the guardian of the Castorberus solar system. And so,
I'm the creator of time. I'm going to be so much weaker later on.
I have absolutely no idea why, but for some reason when I'm that Game of Thrones guy, I suck. And that's it. That is the end of Neverland.
Well, actually, now before we go on to that, I really want to discuss Rassilon in general and that whole deal. Actually, because when it comes to that, how many times must he have regenerated in the war? Because he's got a lot, right?
He can't die. Rassilon can't die. It's impossible.
He's got infinite regenerations.
He doesn't just have infinite regenerations. It is impossible for him to die.
Yeah. So
they had to lock him in a tower and create a temporal loop around him so that he didn't move.
Yes. But then, anyway, if when they obviously broke him out at some point during the Time War to have him help them fight.
Well, I won't spoil where they broke him out from.
Yes,
because it wasn't the Dark Tower, and I'll leave it at that.
But anyway, they must bring him back somewhere along the way, and we see him a couple of times during this, or at least twice. Well, we see a couple of regenerations of that during that time, but I mean, countless other Time Lords must have died, and the reason why they would have brought him back is because they knew that any weapon that the Daleks could have invented would not have affected him in any way. So he would have been able to walk in with a sword and cut them down.
Yeah.
So how many times would he have regenerated during that?
I reckon on the hundreds of thousands, man.
Yeah. So, but we don't really know how exactly his immortality really works, other than the fact that he's just never going to die.
Yeah.
Would the fact that he had been killed countless times during the Time War mean that he would have lost a little bit of that power, at least while it regenerated?
Because of how many times he would have regenerated.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose once you're no longer James Bond, you kind of lose a lot of that power. But you're looking at the actual Doctor Who canon. Maybe because, like, if you think about it, we still don't know how they got into the Pocket Universe. Did they use Rassilon to jumpstart them out?
Yeah, that could have easily been it too.
Yeah, considering he is the actual living, breathing paradox,
and he is the cause of time itself.
Yeah,
of causality. So, and that's just it. Is that when the Time Lords are all gone, when they are trapped away, causality still happens. Causality is still going on. So, really, that is sort of really the Doctor should have thought immediately. Hang on a minute, causality's still here. Rassilon must still exist.
Yeah.
In some state.
Well, because the 10th Doctor said that it was only time locked. Like, even though he watched it get obliterated.
Yeah.
I personally actually think that the reason he time locked it is because fucking Rassilon exists.
Yeah.
Because Rassilon exists, bro. That's just bad news in general, even though he's the whole reason the universe works. But yeah, because Rassilon's he's bad news, man. And
later
on, yeah, because in Neverland he was a good guy. I like him in Neverland. He was great. I actually like him in the Five Doctors as well, because him and the First Doctor just got along. I love how him and the First Doctor both on purpose got Barusa tricked.
Yeah.
Rassilon and the First Doctor knew what was up, and then he's just like, "Bro, are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, bruh. Make him immortal forever." And Barusa's like, "Oh, I really hope you don't torture me in Engines of War." Oh. I'm totally gonna torture you in Engines of War.
Yeah, so that's Rassilon is an interesting part of the Doctor Who canon. But
I don't think he's inherently evil. I just think that like some of his regenerations are not the nicest blokes to be around.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Because that happened to Barusa as well. Barusa was like this really, really nice teacher guy who was like the Doctor's favourite teacher, even though he hated the Doctor and the Doctor loved him back. Which is weird. And then Barusa regenerates, and then in the Five Doctors, he's an asshole.
Yeah, that's basically it. Really, is that the?
Because there would have been, I reckon, the first incarnation of the Master would have been a nice guy.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, they were friends with it. He was friends with it. Like actually friends, like properly big best buds.
Yeah,
you know?
they actually had their own group that they called the Decker. The Doctor having his own posse, that's amazing. I love that.
That's definitely canon.
Yeah. Well, it is actually canon, the Decker.
I know, but like it's like properly canon now.
Yeah.
It's Whoscussion canon now.
Alrighty, well, I'm looking forward to Zagreus, which will be our next Eighth Doctor story, and then we're going to be starting off with Power of the Daleks, which is unfortunately still all missing, and then the story after that, which I think is the Highlanders. I'm pretty certain it's the Highlanders. It's not the Makratera, is it? Hang on a second. Better not be the fucking Makratera. I hate that story.
We have Power of the Daleks, and then we have...
Is it the Highlanders?
The Highlanders? Yes.
Yes, it is. Oh, I forgot that was a reconstruction as well.
We have the Highlanders, and then we have the Underwater Menace.
Yes. Alright, so we've got Power of the Daleks, the Highlanders, and then we'll finish it off with Zagreus, where is the 40th anniversary of Doctor Who's story.
Yes!
It is the official 40th anniversary as well, so I'm looking forward to that. Alrighty.
Yes!
Catch everybody next week.